Can everybody see my screen? I'm seeing nods, so all right. Awesome. So, hello everybody. Harkening back to a little bit of warmer weather on my porch and the dog. A little bit of Throwback Wednesday for you. Quick announcement. So I talked to Stephen Katz last night, and he is down with talking to us next week. So on Monday and Wednesday, we're going to go through his film, Tao's Library. Did we do that with you, Maddie? We didn't do that? Okay. So this is a film I was telling you about Tao, who's there on the right, and her library, expressed in that bookshelf there on the far right. So I've got it actually on Amazon. I've got the copy of the film. It is about 90 minutes, so we're going to need 2 full class periods to get through the whole thing. So we'll start Monday and finish it on Wednesday and talk to Stephen about it on Friday. So he can also talk about shooting for NGOs like Operation Smile. He has done some NGO work, actually quite a lot of NGO work, so he can talk about how to get into that business. Those of you in 434 will probably benefit from this as well when he talks about, you know, working for charities and NGOs in addition to Dr. Tate. So that's coming up. So go ahead for the engagement quiz, and we're going to get straight into a guest speaker that we have today. Access code is 452. Let me know if that doesn't work, but it should work. I checked it. And the question is, based on our discussion on Monday, advocacy is to a picture story on the homeless made for a news organization, as activism is to a documentary project on hunger in the Sudan shot for UNICEF. True or false? And I'm expecting it's not going to take too long to click true or false. So we're going to move straight into our discussion and our guest. I'll stop screen sharing and give it to, actually, I will make Maddie a co-host. So that she may screen share with impunity.
I have power.
Yes, you can also click people in when they show up late. You can make fun of them too if you want.
Oh, okay, I will.
Don't do that. So Maddie, not very long ago at all, was sitting where you are. Maybe not exactly where you are, but he came up with some amazing photo stories for her long form class, including the one I think she's going to, I don't know if you're going to share 1 or 2 of them with us today. You can share whatever you want. I was thinking about the Christian story, but I'm going to let Maddie kind of tell you about her path through the program and her interest in this particular documentary, and maybe some of her video work as well. So anything you want to share, I'll give the floor to you.
Okay. So hi guys. Yeah, I'm Madeline. I just graduated last December, so December 2019. I got out just in time for the pandemic, but not in time enough to secure a job before the pandemic started. So that was fun. But after graduating, I moved to Fishers, so that's where I'm at now. And I'm actually working at a center for kids with autism. So I'm like a therapist right now, and I'm at work. So if there's a lot of screaming in the background, I'm really, really sorry. But so I don't know, I don't talk about myself a lot, but yeah. So after graduating, when I was at Ball State doing this long form project that I'm going to show you, I kind of fell in love with working with pediatrics and telling their stories and disability and cancer and stuff like that. And with the pandemic, I was like, I need to become an essential worker. So that's why I'm at the Autism Center, because it's in the field that I love, but then also if we go into another quarantine, I have a job. But so since graduating, I have been doing a lot of wedding work and stuff, which isn't my forte, but it helps pay the bills. And honestly, that's what you have to think of sometimes. And so this year I'm getting back into journalism stuff already, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, I'm from Muncie, started with a different major, switched to photojournalism, took 5 years to graduate, did everything you can in Ball State and failed and succeeded at some stuff. And so here I am. Yeah. But so the project I'm gonna show you guys today is a little heavy. So I'm gonna give you a heads up. There's my face on the screen. This is weird. But it started honestly with one of Doc's questions, and like that little quiz thing that he always has you guys do. One of the questions he asked was something along the lines about, where do you need to go to find a good story? And I put, not in Indiana, somewhere else in the world. And I totally failed that quiz, but that's okay. And so then that got me thinking. I was like, oh, stuff in my backyard. I have to do a really big ass project. And how can I do this? So I texted one of my friends who's familiar in like the nonprofit world and stuff, was like, you'll be the perfect guy to give me advice and help me find a meaningful story about Muncie. And he gave me this guy's number and was like, hey, just give him a text, meet up with him for coffee. I think there's something that he wants to share with you. It's like, okay, sure. What, weird, but okay. And so then I met with this guy, Brad, and I found out that at the time, this was in the beginning of 2019. Yeah. At the time, his 8-year-old son had a never before seen form of brain cancer. And he had half of his brain taken out because the tumors had completely filled his skull cavity. And I was like, sitting at the caffeinery, I was like, holy shit. Like, I can't do this. What are you, like, what even is this? Like, and so then I started to talk to him a little bit more and proposed and asked if I could come just take pictures of his kid. And he said, sure. They opened me with welcome arms, and that's how it all started. So here I am 2 years later talking to you guys about it over a freaking coffee that I almost canceled on because I was so anxious. But so then I followed his entire family for the next few months, and I'll show you that. But so I'm just going to kind of show you a bunch of things, and please, if you guys have questions, put it into the little chat Zoom thing there is, and then I'll just answer them at the end. Yeah, cool. How do I screen share?
So wiggle your cursor on the screen and you'll get all the buttons at the bottom, the green one. And just share the desktop, the top choice. It's probably the easiest thing to do, although it have sometimes it.
Open system preferences. Oh, 1 second, sorry. It says I have to quit Zoom to start doing it. Later? Maybe I can do it later. Wait.
Are you trying to do it on a web connection or are you doing it on the Zoom app?
I think I was going to do it on the Zoom app.
Yeah, so that should work.
So let's try it.
There
we go.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Sure can.
Okay, cool. I don't know what's happening then. Here we go. All right. So pew, pew, pew. And then also, I want to preface this too. In the long form class, when I first started, I was using a camera from 2001, a Nikon crappy ass camera from 2001. I upgraded this year, so that was really cool. But most of these photos were taken with that camera or with one of the DN's cameras. So you don't have to have all the fancy equipment to take decent things. Yeah. So I'll just so this is Christian. He is 8 years old here. This is the very first photo I ever took of him. And it's kind of a crappy photo. And I got better, I promise. So I'm just gonna go through some of the stuff. That's him with his mom. That's his father, who I met with. And you can see right here his scar from when he had half his brain removed. And at this time, this is at a dance marathon at Ball State. And he had 4 brain surgeries and had been on chemo for over 3 years. And here he had a really bad headache. But that wasn't going to stop him. And this is his twin sister. So, yeah. You got to do all kinds of really cool things all the time. Invited to all kinds of things because the world wanted to help celebrate him. And so then the week after I met him and Christian and his family, they were throwing him this giant birthday party. So him and his twin sister. So they rented out Mad Jack's and had the biggest party I've ever been to. Hundreds of people showed up. And a big thing, you can tell with the colors and everything, he always said he was faster than the Flash. So that's a common theme throughout it. And so Christian and Grace, they're a very religious family. And then their 10-year-old brother, Elijah. But so I started to just follow them. I would miss classes, which always wasn't the best thing, don't do that. But I would miss classes and go take his picture. And I would bother his family day and night and come out. And they were totally okay with it.
And
but
you always did a good job of letting me know too when you were working on stuff. And
I tried to.
I appreciate that.
And they started to invite me to go to the hospital with them. And so I started to do that. And I am Facebook friends with Riley's leading pediatric oncology neurosurgeon now. And that's him. And Christian's prepping for a surgery because he had a tumor that showed up in a week period. It wasn't there, and then all of a sudden it broke through part of his skull and they had to remove it. So I was there through every single minute. And he was always in good spirits. That was the best thing. Definitely the happiest kid I know. And so, clicking through a bunch. That's what happened. Yeah, I just asked them if I could be in their lives, and they let me with open arms. And I totally consider this entire family part of my family now. I celebrate Easter with them sometimes, and I'm seeing them this weekend, and yeah. And always I bring my camera too. Like every time I bring my camera just in case. So here we're looking at some of his MRI photos because he would go get 3-month checks of his brain scans and stuff. Sorry, this is not organized super well for you guys. But you can just see a lot happened. And good moments and sad moments alike. I mean, how can it not be sad? So, and then I went to Fort Knox for an internship last summer. And so I had been following them for about 6 months. And I made the decision. I was like, okay, I can come back every few weekends, still be with this family, still cover his story. And so I went to Fort Knox. I was always talking to them. And then one weekend, I got a call, so I came back up. We went to the MRI again. It was a little scarier than it had been before, so we were all pretty on edge. And I'm sorry. Then we realized that things were getting a little worse. And what happened, don't look at this, I'm sorry, was I got that call at about 4 a.m. and I rushed back north up to like Muncie. They're right outside of Muncie in Albany, and spent a few nights with them. And why aren't you pulling up? Then we had to make a pretty big decision. We had hospice care come, and hospice is just to make you more comfortable. But after having those conversations, we had to call an ambulance. And so we followed the ambulance all the way up to Riley. And you can just see how much pain he's in from the tumors in his head, causing headaches and everything under the sun. We get to the hospital, and he had to have another emergency surgery to remove part of the brain tumor, one of the many that was growing. And then we realized we weren't leaving. So we stayed and stayed through all of July of 2019. And we had emergency surgeries in his bed. We did everything we could. And then they decided to sedate him. And you can see, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but right where his scar is on his head, you can kind of see where a tumor's poking out. And I literally slept on the floor of their hospital room so that mom and dad could have the couch. And then my boyfriend of 3 months at the time came and stayed with us too, because he wanted to be there for me and for them. And he called Doc because he didn't know what to do. And so he was like, Doc, help me, help her. Yeah. And we had to start saying our goodbyes. And that was pretty scary. But then his entire family came in the middle of the night. And this is where we had to tell his twin sister that she was going to go home and not have a brother tomorrow. And I mean, how do you, like, she knows he's dying, but how do you tell somebody that too? And this is his older sister. But we found ways to have fun because Riley's awesome like that. They let the kids paint. They said goodbyes. They created things just for Christian and to write memories in. And even though it was really hard, they still made a positive thing happen. And at this point, he wasn't talking or anything to us anymore. You can see how some of these photos are a little rough. It's the middle of the night with that 2001 camera. And this is my overall selects. So you can see I have hundreds that I still struggle to narrow down. So I will show you what me and I think 6 other people ended up choosing as the final selects. So this is my photojournalism website. And that's my little buddy. Where, his twin sister saying goodbye. His funeral. Of course, the flash had to be there. And even through the hardest thing anybody should ever live through, the kids still have fun. So there's a lot more detail. I could talk about Christian's story for hours and hours. But that's an overview, a chaotic overview of what I did in my last year of college. And not every story is this intense, and it doesn't need to be this intense. But I had no idea what I wanted to do for photojournalism. And Doc asked that question. I gave myself a mission. I found Christian. And now I work with kids with special needs and with cancer and with disabilities and all the sort. And a little bit more of a lighthearted story. I'll show you. Is that right? After I met Christian and after he passed away in July, y'all, I went to therapy. I had like therapy like 2 to 3 days a week. It was rough. And I had one more semester of college. And it's like, how do you watch a child pass away and then return to parties and drinking and hanging out with friends? And it did show me a lot about real friendships and people who cared. And that hurt a lot. But it gave me the path that I'm on now. And it gave me a family I'll never lose. And so finally, in December, right as I was graduating, I had the nerve to pick up my camera again. And the nerve, I don't know, my anxiety wasn't as high, so I was able to pick up my camera again. And I met Zach, who's right here, and he has cerebral palsy. And so I covered his story. He's in his 20s. And I did the same thing. I walked through his house. I sat with him. I hung out for hours while his cat laid on my lap. And it was very different, but it was something I needed to, was to cover something positive about this guy who has a full-time job and he plays Paralympian wheelchair soccer that I've never heard of or photographed before. And this is his full-time job at a hotel in downtown Muncie. And him with his kitty cat and his hydraulic lifted wheelchair, which is really cool. And this story meant the world to him. And his parents literally have pictures that I took hanging up on their wall because they were so honored that somebody wanted to tell their son's story. And I Snapchat him all the time. I talk to him now. And I still visit him sometimes too. So that's very heavy. So everyone took a deep breath. But yeah, that's my journalism story. And does anyone have any questions?
I'll start. There may be some in here, so you got so the edit that you showed us from the Christian story about several people, including myself, weighed in on, gave you feedback. It's a safe bet that not everybody said exactly the same thing and had exactly the same like frame on your story.
Hell no.
How do you parse through all that different feedback and all those different directions? And because I know students struggle with it all the time. I'll just say Katie remember when she went to the Image Deconstructed. And a lot of people got a lot of different critiques in that place. So, some people, I think Katie maybe got like 4 or 5 different critiques. And she tried to accommodate each of the feedback in that from that weekend. And her portfolio was like the most schizoid thing ever. It was just, it wasn't cohesive. And we had to kind of rework it after all that feedback and kind of narrow it, make it cohesive again. But, if you listen to everybody, you're going to have a really weird product.
Yeah.
So how did you decide to make sense of all that different feedback?
So I made a folder for everybody who reviewed Christian Story. I made a little folder of their best picks, and I'm looking at it now. I have 7 different folders on here for different people who reviewed it. So basically what I did is I looked at all the things that they had in common, and I kind of pulled all those photos together. And if there was a photo that I really didn't like or really didn't think told his story, I just nipped it out, because it's my story. Like, it's Christian Story, but I'm telling it,
Right.
So I nipped out the ones I didn't like. And then I slowly just kind of like narrowed it down from there. Oh, 5 people have this photo and 2 people have this one. That one's going away. The 5 people are staying. So little shout out. If y'all don't have Photo Mechanic, seriously, get Photo Mechanic. It's $150 one time. I never bit the bullet until Christian Story, but I couldn't have done that or photographed weddings and organized everything without Photo Mechanic. So I recommend that purchase as a poor recent college grad.
It's worth it. There are few things that a poor college student can say that about, but Photo Mechanic was
one of them.
They do have student discounts, but I think it's a year-to-year membership. So
just buy it once.
Yeah.
But so that's what I did. And I talked to people about the stories. I was honest. I was like, listen, today's kind of a shitty day. Like, a lot of things went wrong at this doctor appointment. I'm not going out. Like, I'm not going to a party, or I just need to be with me, kind of thing. And then a lot of days, many of my friends who weren't PJs didn't understand why I was doing this, like why I would put myself through something like this. And I mean, you guys have probably all tried. You can't really explain photojournalism, like how it makes you feel, to other people. But so then that also helped narrow down my friends and who were true to sticking by my side through something like this. But yeah. And well, but I still, like I said, I still hang out with the family, and I 100% owe where I am at in my life to Christian. And today is actually him and his twin's birthday. So I'm a little extra emotional today because of that. But also, I kind of felt like it was perfect that Doc asked me to be here today. Thanks for all the supportive head nods, y'all.
We really appreciate you showing up today and talking about that. And yeah, I definitely recommend, as I think Katie spoke to us, actually spoke to the other class, many of whom were in there though, the need for, therapy and self-care. And you'll hear that over and over again from different people, how important that is. Again, you can get it free on campus. So there's that.
Sign up at the beginning of the semester, otherwise you have to wait a few weeks.
Yeah.
Tip that I learned.
Yeah.
But does anyone have any questions about Christian's story or how to come up with a long form project or anything like that? Because I know before I found his story, I was lost as anybody could be.
How intimidated were you by the aspect of being with this family through like this ordeal? And like, at what point did you realize that you were going to be with them until the very end of everything?
So I was so intimidated. Like, I think I mentioned earlier, I almost canceled my coffee date with his father because I was so worried about, like, I couldn't do this. But I bit my tongue. I went through and did it. And I was open with his family. I was like, listen, I've never done something like this. I'm fortunate and I've never had someone close to me in my life affected by cancer either. So I was just upfront, and they were honest and upfront with me too, about how they felt and what they wanted me to cover and what they didn't want me to cover. But the moment I realized was whenever I went over to their house the very first time, and the first thing Christian said to me was, "Are you gonna take my picture every day?" And I was like, "Oh my God, now I have to. Like, I can't tell you no." And yeah, and then I stuck it out. It was like I fell so much in love with what he was sharing that I realized I had to let other people share it. Other people hear it, sorry.
It's a great answer.
That was a
Uh,
wrong
well-
question.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions in here? I do.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of video as well, and
Oh yeah.
really good video, which is also part of this class. And you did video for this class, which you can share if you want, or you can talk about how I mean, you certainly started out in the still zone and then moved into video. Can you talk a little bit about how that transition went?
So I hated video. Man, I thought it was stupid. I thought it was just gonna be like one of those like one of those trendy things that fell off or whatever because I didn't want to commit to it. And I was like, crap, I gotta go do it. And so then I started doing some filming when I was at Christian's house and stuff. But then I made it a point to find other people who were doing video projects and kind of join along with them. And I ended up doing one that was really awesome that I'll tell you guys about quickly in a minute. But it has such a different perspective and you get different feels from it. Like the emotions you get from video is nothing like what you can get from photos, and like vice versa. But so now I do video all the time, and I actually have an opportunity to do video as like kind of a full-time gig coming up soon. And I only started doing it a year and a half ago, but I put in my best foot forward and asked a hell of a lot of questions and asked everybody in the world for recommendations and ideas and stuff. And I'm going to screen share one more time. I know class is almost up, but I ended up doing a class with Terry Heifetz and Lisa Renzi Rhodes, and it was basically create something on your own. And one of my buddies wanted to tell the story of Muncie's community school systems being put under Ball State's ruling, like Ball State's in charge of the school systems of Muncie right now. It's a big fucking deal. Excuse me, sorry. It's a big deal. And it only happened one other time in American history. So we told the story of when it happened the other time, Tale of Two Cities. So we actually, this is 6 months after I met Christian. So like right around the time that he passed away, we were in the process of doing this project. And so we got a grant, we flew out to Boston, we covered the story, we built this entire website. It's a 30-minute long documentary. And yeah, And it has honestly, these aren't very good spots that I'm showing you guys, but it's made a huge impact, and it's why I have this job opportunity coming up soon. So that's really cool. But it was submitted, and so brag moment, we won an Emmy for it. So that's really cool, especially since I had just started doing video right beforehand. And woo, thumbs up. But it's like I had an opportunity. I learned everything I could in those few minutes, the few days that I had, and then I took off running, because in this industry, honestly, things are always changing. Like, I don't know shit about TikTok, and I don't know. I'm dragging my feet about TikTok, like how I would drag my feet about video, but I know I'm probably gonna end up doing it anyway. But it's like, once you learn those things, you become so incredibly valuable to whatever job, whatever industry, and you have more opportunities to freelance too. So that's my video spiel.
And having seen her video, I mean, I think Maddie is a great example of how a really good still photographer can leverage those skills and do really kick-ass video, just because of her understanding of composition and movement, the eye movement, the way getting close, but also just thinking through, you know, the shot. And they tend to be, in a matter of speaking, kind of picturesque. Each moment, each cut is, I think, really pristine in its composition and how it's put together. So I think there's a real difference. We have an edge in a sense of when we do video. I may be biased, of course, but I just think our videos are better. So
Thanks.
parting words
more
or
questions.
last question?
I was about to say, I know you guys, I don't know how doing school on Zoom is, but I imagine it's horrible. But I know the professors are doing everything they can, but I also know that you guys have a lot of guest speakers, and it can be a lot sometimes, like all the information you take in and everything. But I cannot recommend enough, reach out to them. Just shoot them an email, tell them thanks. Like, shoot me an email, tell me thanks. No, but you guys, I'll give Doc all my information. Hit me up if you have questions. Hit me up if you need some story ideas. I can help you navigate what you're wanting to do. And the reason I push so hard on this is this opportunity. I can't like officially say anything yet, but I had reached out to Lucas Carter, a guy who came to Doc's class a few years ago. I hit him up, just telling him, hey, I'd love to grab a taco with you sometimes. Like, cool. And so we grabbed tacos once. And then when I moved to Indianapolis this past summer, I reached out to him again since he was in the area. And this job I'm going to start is because of him. We met 2 times, and now I'm about to land a full-time video gig. And it's just like, he does concert photography. I don't do that. Like, that is not my thing. But he found this for me and helped organize it. And so always reach out to people and go to workshops, listen to Doc most days. But yeah, I wish you guys all the best, and I wish everybody to stay safe and find awesome projects and stay inspired. Those are my parting words.
Thank you so much. I mean, you could, that was such an amazing talk, and I can't thank you enough. You're a real blessing.
Thanks, Doc. You're a blessing in my life, so I wouldn't have made it through without you.
All right. Well, I hate hanging up on you. I just haven't seen you so
I
long.
know. So we'll have to have socially distanced coffee soon.
Very soon. Yes, please.
Since I live like 10 minutes from your house now.
Yeah, I know. And Grace, you're kind of, you're close to the Fashion Mall, right?
Ish, yeah. Yeah, I think we're like a little triangulation. Anyways, yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know if you see the chat, but everyone is saying goodbye.
Aww,
thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for letting me come and chat and being so attentive. I appreciate it a lot. Good luck and happy Wednesday.